The first winter sun was breaking through the Huntsville sky. Time had passed, but some wounds heal not with time but with endurance. MelodyHolt was at a stage in her life where peace and solitude had become two sides of the same coin. The light of day would busy him, and the silence of the night would question him. When he looked in the mirror this morning, there were faint lines of confidence on his face, but there was a tiredness hidden in the eyes. That it wasn't the exhaustion that comes from work, rather the exhaustion that forces the heart to be constantly strong. Melody went to the kitchen and prepared the children's lunch boxes. Maria was getting ready for school. Melanie was handling her little books. "Mama, are you coming to our school show today?" Melanie asked innocently. Melody smiled as she stroked his hair. "Course. My princess mama never breaks her proms." That moment seemed ordinary, but there was a war behind it, the battle of a mother who fought the courts, the media, and societal judgments to comfort her children. When the children left for school, there was a hush in the house. Melody took a cup of coffee and sat down on the sofa. Suddenly her phone rang. A message from the Oprah Daily. "Team, we'd love to have you for a special interview on women who rebuilt themselves." Melody was silent for a few moments. This was a moment of victory. But somewhere in my heart a question arose. Am I really made again? Or just changed the way I break? On the other side of Huntsville, MartellHolt was still trying to find himself. Sometimes fame, sometimes power, sometimes stubbornness, all were with him. Now there was only the mirror and himself. In the sixth therapy session, his therapist asked Martell, "You still feel guilty?" Martell said, lowering his eyes. "Yes, because I didn't just lose a woman, I also lost the trust of my children." The moment sank into a heavy silence in the therapy room. Remorse burned inside Martell, but also a determination was brewing. This time he wasn't doing his reformation to show off, rather to silence the noise within. At night, when he looked at the pictures of the children, a single prayer would come out of his heart. For God's sake, don't let them hate me. Melody launched a new plan for her company, Embrace Enterprises. She was no longer just making beauty products, but starting healing workshops where women are taught that fixing yourself is strength, not weakness. The first session was in Birmingham. Hundreds of women came, all with the same emotion on their faces. If Melody can rise, so can we. As Melody took the mic on stage, Martell's face flashed into her mind for a moment. Maybe she was thinking, "I wish he could understand all this too." Kay said, "Life never gives you what you want. She gives you something to learn from. I made my necklace a lesson and learned to win again from that." The applause continued, but a silent tear hid in Melody's heart, because another name for his success was sacrifice. One night Martell was sitting in the courtyard of his mother's house. There was cold in the air, but the warmth of regret in the heart. Miss Marlene said. The very next day he called his team. "I want to start working again, but this time only with the truth." Martell was offered a show by a local TV station, Fathers Rebuilding Lives, a show in which he will talk to fathers who have picked themselves up after their mistakes. The first episode was shot. Martell looked into the camera for a moment and said, "I did not come here to teach. I am here to confess my sins, because telling the truth is the first step to recovery." This sentence went viral on social media. In the comments section, people were writing, "Maybe Martell is finally changing." Melody was shown the video the same day. He remained silent for a few moments. Then she smiled slightly and said, "Maybe now he's becoming what I once wanted, but I'm not that anymore." At night, when the children went to sleep, Melody opened her diary. He wrote, "Sometimes the people we fight, they introduce us to ourselves, and when we recognize ourselves, then we don't need to fight them." The diary was closed, the lamp was extinguished, but a new light was lit in the heart. Melody's mornings were no longer the same. Now there was peace in his home, but this peace had become a responsibility. She was sitting at breakfast with her children when Maria said, "Mama, why are you always smiling? Aren't you ever sad?" Melody's heart fluttered for a moment. Then he softly replied, "Son, I'm never sad. Just pretend to be strong." "So, you're the best actress." Maria laughed. Melody smiled and hugged her daughter. But there was an emptiness in her heart. Sometimes success makes a person lonely, because when everyone starts calling you an example, you have to hide your weaknesses. Martell's life was now getting back to normal. Therapy sessions, exercise, and show preparation. He was now cautious on social media. No sharp talk. No bitter post. He had learned one thing for the first time in his life: silence. There was a peace in the silence that was never found in the screams. One day, the producer of the show said, "Martell, you're really changing. People don't look at you with hate anymore, but with sympathy," Martell said softly. "Maybe because I don't hate myself anymore." That phrase sat in the producer's heart. Some truths only emerge after defeat. Melody's slogan, "Heal before you love again," had now become a movement. She was conducting seminars in different cities of America. Women were fascinated by her. The media started calling her the Phoenix Woman. One day at a big event in New York, a reporter asked, "Melody, do you ever think that Martell couldn't have made his life better without you?" That moment held on like time. Melody smiled and said, "Maybe I was the reason he broke up, but he himself is the reason why he is rising now. We were each other's test stands sometimes. The test is the greatest teacher." The phrase spread all over the internet. People wrote, "That's real power. When you make the past a lesson, not a blame." One evening, Martell walked out after taping his show suddenly. "I saw a banner in front of me, 'Heal Before You Love Again,' hosted by MelodyHolt." His steps stopped. For a few moments he stared at the banner, then slowly said, "Once this phrase was a wound to me. Today it's the way for me." He wrote in his journal that night, "My story started with the woman I broke, and the end will be the day I fold myself." Melody came to the roof after putting the children to sleep at night. CHANDN, I was soft. But the heart was heavy. Suddenly, a notification came on the phone. MartellHolt lived now several months later. He opened live with curiosity. Martell was saying, "I am at a point in my life today where I have stopped running from the truth. If you've hurt someone, don't delay in apologizing. Because sometimes forgiveness is the greatest freedom for oneself." Melody stared at him for a few moments, then he hung up and said softly, "Maybe now you're really changing." At a charity gala in Huntsville, Melody and Martell have an unexpected meeting. The flashes of cameras, the whispers of people, but an unusual comfort between the two. Martell moved slowly. "Melody, saw your show? You really changed the world." Melody replied softly, "And you toothed the world within." There was silence for a moment. Then Melody said, "Sometimes the greatest victory is not who was right, rather, who is better in the end." Martell simply said, "Maybe now we've both won in different ways." This conversation was caught on camera, and the next day, every news channel had a headline, "Melody and Martell from battle to balance." A few days later, Martell was allowed to see her children. Melody herself was there as Martell cradled his young daughter. Then uncontrollable tears came out of his eyes. "Daddy, why are you crying?" Melody asked innocently. Martell smiled and said, "These are tears of joy, son, because you recognize me." Melody saw this scene and said to herself, "Perhaps that was the comfort for which I kept fighting." At night, Melody wrote in her new diary, "I've learned that love never ends. She just changes form. Sometimes it becomes a prayer. Sometimes it becomes a lesson, and sometimes just peace." And a few miles away, Martell was writing in his diary, "Thankfully he left me, because if she didn't leave, so I would never have found myself." Martell had now become a regular face on the Father's Rebuilding Lives show. People sought advice from him. He was called the ambassador of reality redemption. But one night, he sat in an empty studio after his show, was looking at old pictures. "Melody, baby, Old days, suddenly the producer came. "Martell, your eyes are wet. Is everything all right?" Martell smiled and said, "Yeah, just thinking. Sometimes I was empty despite everything. And today I am nothing but complete." The producer put his hand on the shoulder. "Perhaps this is what is called complete people." Martell filed a new application in court that he could spend more time with the children. Melody agreed without hesitation. Now both make a weekly plan. Children sometimes with mama, sometimes with daddy. And the surprising thing was that for the first time these children told their parents seen, not against each other, but together. One day Melanie said, "Mama, are we a family now?" Melody replied softly, "We always were. Only now we have learned to understand that there is no roof to be a family. All it takes is one heart." One evening, Melody received an email. The topic was Invitation, LoveAndMarriageHuntsville Reunion Special. The producers wanted him and Martell come to the show together for the first time. At first he hesitated. Then he said to himself, perhaps the time has come for the past to be closed with dignity. When the show started, millions of people were watching live. The questions were the same old ones. Have you forgiven each other? Have you ever thought about working together again? Melody broke the silence and said, "I forgave him, because I will not let my past rule my present. We might not be together anymore, but we are not enemies either." Martell looked down and said softly, "And I forgave myself, because until I forgive myself, I can't be a good father to anyone." There was silence in the hall. Then the applause started for the first time. People saw the two as winners. After the reunion show, the two came face to face backstage for a moment. No camera. No viewers, just the two of them. Melody said, "You really have changed." Martell replied, "And you gave me the courage to change, even if you didn't realize it." There was silence for a few moments. Then Melody held out her hand. Martell held fast neither love nor hate, just respect. And that was enough. After Melody's book Rise Again, Martell wrote his book, The Mirror Doesn't Lie. On the opening page of the book he wrote, "This book is named after that woman who taught me the meaning of defeat so that I can understand the meaning of victory." When Melody read that book, so tears flowed from his eyes, he simply said, "Finally, we've both become complete people." Life gave them both everything they never imagined, not together, but a new self. Melody now shared the light with others, and Martell learns from his dark mistakes. The paths of both were separate, but the destination was the same. Peace of mind if you've ever felt broken. So remember, even incomplete dreams can make complete people. Life always gives second chances. The only condition is that you recognize it. Write in a comment, "I too shall rise again." Better, because maybe this one sentence of yours changed someone else's story.